8. Commentary by Urmila Devidasi. In this verse, the devotee of Krishna has crossed beyond practice. Pride is gone completely. Authentic humility saturates the heart with gratitude and acknowledgement that only divine mercy has eradicated one's deep cheating nature. I think after we finish this book, we will read Trunidapi Sunichana verse by His Holiness Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj. He has written the whole book on that verse. Wonderful instructions. The devotee can now say with full conviction, quote, I'm wretched yet blessed, unquote. The devotee now never wants any trace of cheating or pride to remain. Such devotees, thoroughly honest, open their hearts for full cleansing with nothing held back. Now, one's eternal identity becomes not just hinted at in sometimes hazy glimpses and impressions, but is gradually fully revealed by the grace of Krishna's internal potency. Gandharva, Shri of artistic singing. The supplicant therefore backs Krishna as Govardhan and as the lifter of Govardhan for Gandharva's shelter and service. Beyond shelter and service, one need to make a plea for Mahyam Prema Amrutam Api Dadati Ujwalam, receiving the full and glowing nectar of spiritual love. In previous verses, Raghunath Das Goswami wrote of receiving the jewel of this love and then bathing in the ocean of this love. Here, we beg for that love to be not just eternal and localized as a jewel in hand, and not just external and pervasive as a bath surrounding us, but internal and pervasive as a drink. As we drink that divine love, its effulgence light up our very soul. So Bhakti Vinod writes in his commentary on the verse 8 about the 5 elements of rasa. Our eternal relationship strive out, namely service, friendship, parental, or conjugal love. Our lovable object and the shelter, alambana, and stimulus, udipana, for our eternal relationship. How we display our eternal relationship, anubhav, the symptom of our eternal relationship, sattvika, and the changing waves of emotions within the context of our eternal relationship, sanchari. It is important to note that all designation of this body and this world must be cast aside at this point to accept our real identity and experience the mixing of these 5 parts to make rasa. Bhakti Vinod writes in his commentary here about a gradual and progressive training in eternal service, with the example of those who are gopis in Radha's group. Those who are in different relationships will have a similar training, though the detail will vary. But in all cases, the pleasure potency of Krishna now enter our heart and attract Krishna. Haribol. So we'll be embarking on text number 9 tomorrow, from tomorrow onwards. So now we will be dwelling in the life of Srila Prabhupada. We are on volume number 4, chapter 8, in every town and village. London, August 1971. From Florida, quote, this remote corner of the world, unquote, Prabhupada returned to New York and after 3 days flew to London. There he became ill. On August 14th, he wrote to Tamal Krishna as follows. I'm sick here since the last 4 days. There is no sunshine. Almost always there is a darkness and rain. So it has affected my health because I'm already rheumatic. Prabhupada said he wanted to retire from traveling and management. Quote, this body is old, it is giving warning, unquote. When do we feel the warning is coming? Haribol. We always feel young, huh? But he didn't have sufficient confidence that his leading manager could push on without his pushing them. Prabhupada complained to his secretary, Shyam Sundar, criticizing him and the other zonal secretaries for not producing and distributing his books on a large scale. Quote, why are there no books? Prabhupada demanded, and Shyam Sundar cringed, unable to give a satisfactory answer. Shyam Sundar said he would immediately write to his godbrothers on Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. Quote, why have a book trust? Prabhupada argued. What have they done? There is no stock of big books. There are no literature in foreign languages after years of promises and plans. Why hasn't the unabridged Bhagavad Gita as it is has been printed yet? Well, Shyam Sundar replied, because they, and before he finished, no, it's your responsibility, Prabhupada Diyal. Why haven't you done it? Prabhupada chastised his GBC secretaries around the world through the one secretary before him. The GBC's duties were to see that Prabhupada books were always in stock, that Back to Godhead magazine was being published regularly, that accounts were being paid regularly, and that the devotional life in the temples was healthy. Quote, our business is how to expand, said Prabhupada, how to introduce Krishna consciousness into educational circles. Let any philosopher, scientist, or educationist come. We have got enough stock. But this sleeping, this leisurely work will not do. They can learn actively from an old man like me, because my determination is like this. If I die working, it is a great credit, just like a marshal. If he dies on the battlefield, it is his credit. Arjuna was told, quote, even if you die, you are still the gainer, unquote. Quote, this slow process of printing is the most condemned position. Why should I go on translating when you cannot print? You say retard and translate. But why should I translate? No one will ever read. I can give you volumes. There is Dai Nippon who will print in Japan on credit. So why don't you print? Always, quote, it is to be done. It is to be done, unquote. That's all. A big man complaining. Quote, either he goes or I go, unquote. Again in the quote, this restlessness, this diversion has to stop. When the father is providing, it is the duty of a son to show, I'm the father, I'm the giving you everything. Why don't you show me by printing these books? If one book only is read and understood, that is sufficient to make him Krishna conscious. Don't you see how important it is? Another paragraph. They are always asking me, is such and such book bona fide? They can't even take the time to read one of my books. And still they ask for one of my godbrother's books. How will things go on? First canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is not even edited or corrected. What to speak of printed? So many books unprinted. So tell them, from the book fund, not a farthing should be for eating. One day, Advaita, the manager of ISKCON Press, called from New York with some good news. In a week, they would be sending Dai Nippon, the negatives for 5 big books. ISKCON Press has also sent a shipment of the German Isopanishad to Europe, and other foreign language books were forthcoming. Prabhupada was pleased, and Shyamsundar informed his GBC godbrothers as follows. Needless to say, this was just the medicine required to treat Prabhupada's slackening faith in us. Things are looking up, but still, Prabhupada encourages us all to write up these reports and get a clear, all-around pictures of the total book situation. Although Prabhupada's health was still weak, he felt heartened to hear that his books were being printed, and he continued with his translation and commentary of Srimad Bhagavatam. Suran Chodadas is writing this and explaining in his own words. One night I was up very late, 1 o'clock in the morning. As I came in, I saw that Prabhupada's lights were on in his front room, and I could hear his voice speaking into the dictating machine. I came up the stairs, being as quiet as I possibly could, so Prabhupada wouldn't know that I was up so late. But as I passed his door, I couldn't resist the temptation to just stop and listen for a while. I tried looking through the keyhole, but I couldn't see anything. So I just listened to Prabhupada's voice as he was dictating Srimad Bhagavatam. Then all of a sudden, he stopped. I suppose he was just thinking about what he was going to say next. But then I got the feeling that he knew that I was out here listening through the door. I became frightened and went up the stair as quickly as I could. Although the stair creaked, everyone was asleep. Not only the temple, but practically the whole city of London at 1 o'clock in the morning. But Prabhupada was awake and translating. He had been speaking quietly, but with a voice of great strength and determination. All during the day, he was under pressure to organize things and see people, and yet at night, the one time when he could have some peace and quiet, he was dictating. In London, Prabhupada began a book on the Western philosophers, beginning with Socrates. Every morning, Shyam Sundar would present a synopsis of a major philosophy to Prabhupada. And for several hours, Prabhupada would discuss the philosopher's major points from the light of Krishna consciousness. Daily, Shyam Sundar was busy transcribing the morning discussions and preparing the next philosopher. On August 14th, Srila Prabhupada observed Janmashtami, the birthday of Lord Sri Krishna. And on the next day, Prabhupada's own 75th birthday, a paperback book of collected homage by his disciple arrived. Many of the Vyas Puja homage praised Srila Prabhupada for his extensive traveling to deliver fallen souls all over the world and for the vast scope of his merciful preaching. This year, you have been traveling to India personally speaking and managing ISKCON and showing us the meaning of Acharya by example. And now you are traveling and inspiring the devotees and center in the US and Europe. At Vyas Puja time, we, our intimate children, are gathered at your feet to tell you our feelings as best we can. By your blessings, we can go forth from this Vyas Puja gathering of 1971 and all devotees together as one great ISKCON without faction, truly perform the work with our thoughts, words, and deeds. Let us go and distribute this literature of Srila Prabhupada's Krishna's message, kindly delivered to the Western countries. Let us cooperate without ill feelings among ourselves. Let us very strictly observe all the regulative principles and stay as pure representatives. Let us celebrate pure Sankirtan and magazine distribution to please you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All your disciples pray that you will remain in our presence for many years to come. And by our cooperation, you will be able to spend time writing volumes of Bhagavatam while we carry on the program and mission of your Guru Maharaj. Prabhupada's ill health continued. I was sick for 4 or 5 days. Now I'm a little better, but the disease is prolonging in a different way. I cannot sleep at night more than 2 hours. And during the day, sometimes I'm feeling some dizziness. Otherwise, everything is all right. I'm chanting Hare Krishna as usual and writing my books regularly. What a immense instruction we should get. That Prabhupada at that age 75, sleeping only 2 hours, but he didn't give up his routine services to his Guru Maharaj. That's the dedication. So Shyam Sundar is explaining in his own word as follows. Arvinda and I were sleeping right outside of Prabhupada's room. I was on a lower bunk bed and I heard Shyam Sundar. It was a really urgent sound and I woke up, so heard that I hit my head on the bunk above. I ran into Prabhupada's room. As I was opening the door, he collapsed in the doorway. I caught him. He felt so light, like a little doll, and his face was gray. I took him over to his bed and thought, oh my God, what's going on? He was shivering. I turned the electric heater way up and put it next to his bed. I covered him with a lot of blankets and waited. He was just still. His eyes were closed. Finally, he said, Shyam Sundar, go get me some black paper. Black paper is very nice. He described how to make a black paper paste. Rub it on my forehead, he said. So I ran down to the kitchen and prepared it and came up and put it on his head. I asked him, are you? What's wrong? I don't believe he made a response. He closed his eyes and appeared to be asleep. I slept there by him on the floor for a while. At some point in the night, he said, quote, you may go back to your room. I'll be all right. Unquote. He stayed in bed until about 8 or 9 o'clock the next morning. And then he was just completely well, like nothing has happened. His spirit was so strong that although he had encountered devastating blows to his body, he had come right out of it. I could tell it wasn't a physical event. He had made a full recovery from what must have been something close to death. So we are starting on a new point. One day, while meeting with an Indian man, a Mr. R.B. Pandya from Mombasa, East Africa, Prabhupada mentioned his illness. Mr. Pandya said he owned a house on the ocean at Mombasa, where it was always sunny and warm, with pleasant sea breeze. A perfect place for Prabhupada to recover his health. Mr. Pandya invited Prabhupada to go and live there as long as he liked. Taking the offer seriously, Prabhupada began to think of going to Africa, not only for health, but for preaching. 3 months ago, he had sent Brahmananda Swami and Jagannivas to East Africa. So a visit there would be encourage them as well as enable Prabhupada to work personally at expanding the Krishna consciousness movement on the African continent. Prabhupada sent Bhavananda and Narnarayan from London to Mombasa to see if it would really be possible for him to stay there as Mr. Pandya had suggested. So when Bhavananda and Narnarayan arrived, Brahmananda Swami, who had been struggling in East Africa with only one assistant, was delighted to see them and to hear that Prabhupada was coming soon. Previously, Brahmananda Swami had been preaching in Florida, and Prabhupada had written him to go to Pakistan. Immediately he had gone along with one assistant, Jagannivas, flying to Paris and then taking the Orient Express through Eastern Europe. On hearing that was fever was building in Pakistan, Prabhupada has sent a second letter to Brahmananda Swami in Florida, advising him not to go to Pakistan. But Brahmananda Swami had never received the letter. En route to Pakistan while holding public kirtan in Turkey, Brahmananda and Jagannivas had been arrested and detained for several days on suspicion of being Christian missionaries. Finally, Brahmananda and Jagannivas had arrived in Pakistan, where students had spit at them, accused them of being spies, threatened them, and called them names. Several times people on the street had rubbed the Vaishnava tilak on the devotees' forehead and warned them not to show themselves in public or they would be stabbed. Local Hindus had warned the devotees to leave as soon as possible, and so they had reluctantly decided to go to Bombay to see Srila Prabhupada. Meanwhile, in Bombay, Prabhupada had read in an Indian newspaper that Pakistani soldiers in Dhaka had killed 4 Hare Krishna missionaries. Quote, I'm very much anxious to know about Brahmananda. Prabhupada had written, quote, the day has been full of anxiety with this bad news, and still it is going on. So when Srila Prabhupada had heard that Brahmananda Swami had actually arrived in Bombay, he had asked to see him at once, like a father recovering his lost child. Prabhupada has embraced him. Quote, you risk your life just on my order. Unquote. Prabhupada had said, after some days, Prabhupada had told Brahmananda Swami, you should go to Africa. If you go, then we will be on all the continents. So that's where we should stop. It's time to be punctual. Devotees has other duties to perform. So before they leave, we would like to offer our humble obeisances at the dusk of their lotus feet by uttering the prayer, Vanchakalpatarubhasya, Kripa Sindhubhaya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So this is very nice to offer the obeisances to the devotees. 2000 obeisances